Hello and welcome back to the Final Whistle podcast. My name is Harry McBain and today I'm going to be giving you some information about what has been going on at Championship side, Reading FC. Now, Reading are going through what's called a strategic review, which basically means that they're going through the club and scrutinising the key staff's roles and we're looking at whether they're actually needed at the club. The first casualty of this review was former CEO Nigel Howe. Howe had been in this CEO role since December, replacing Mark Bowen, who had been appointed as the club's first-team manager. In an official statement released by Reading on the 24th of August, the Berkshire-based club announced their plans to appoint Dae-Yong Pang as Howe's successor. Mr. Pang is a close friend of co-owner Dae-Yong, and many have been questioning his ability to deliver at a club who are targeting promotion back to the Premier League after 7 years of being stuck in the Championship. Nigel Howe will be going back into a role at the club, but he will be returning as vice chairman instead of the CEO. Well, next up on the review was the position of first-team manager Mark Bowen. He'd held this position after appointing himself the job back in October of 2019. But he was relieved of his duties in that role after a 4-1 pre-season loss to Tottenham. The man they have chosen to replace him is Serbian manager Veljko Povinic. I've probably pronounced that wrong, but he's taken over. He's had previous managerial experience at Serbian under-19s, under-18s, and he was also MLS side Chicago Fire's manager for 4 years. During that time, he'd managed to finish bottom of the MLS table 2 years running. Many Reading fans voiced their concern at the appointment, with many asking who the hell he was. Some fans questioned why they didn't appoint a more experienced manager such as Chris Hughton or even Nigel Pearson, who are both without a club at the moment and who have great experience of the Championship. But owner Dae-Yong said in the announcement that he was confident that Povinic could take them to the next level. Now, in all of this, you may have wondered what has happened to Mark Bowen, the former CEO and manager of the club. Well, in their review and restructuring, Reading had offered Bowen the role of sporting director. This means that he would have input into the way that the squad was set up, as well as supposedly having full control over transfers. This led many to ask the question, why didn't Reading just keep him in the manager role? According to many reports and rumours, the new incoming CEO, Dae-Yong Pang, didn't like Bowen, but was persuaded by the owners to offer him a role at the club after all he's done. Mark Bowen, unsurprisingly, turned down the offer from Reading because he wanted to pursue other opportunities. This suggests that Bowen now wants to venture more into management jobs rather than stick about and allowing himself to be replaced by an unexperienced manager after the work he's done. Now, Bowen took over at Reading back in October of 2019, where they sat 22nd in the league, in the relegation zone, only on goal difference with 8 points after 11 games. Bowen took over, of course, from Jose Gomes, the Portuguese, who at the time, Bowen was the CEO, who gave himself the job, as I mentioned earlier. But after Bowen took control of the squad for the rest of the season, he managed to lead them to a 14th place finish, which, considering the club's previous finishings in seasons gone by, was taken brilliantly by the fans, leading more to wonder why the heck the club chose to remove him from the job, especially as it was only a few weeks before the start of the new season. Now, who are Reading's owners? I've already mentioned Dae-Yong, and also the other co-owner is Dae-Ji Lee. Now, Dae-Yong is a Chinese businessman and investor. He is currently the executive chairman of Renhei Commercial Holdings Company Limited. It's a listed investment holding company who specialise in the operation of shopping centres transformed from old air raid shelters. Now, his sister Dae-Ji Lee is reportedly one of the wealthiest women in China. In 2014, according to the American business magazine Forbes, she was worth a whopping £700 million, making them one of the richest owners in the Championship. Now, Dae-Ji Lee is also the president of Beijing Renhei Football Club, who were recently relegated to China's League One. Here are just a few tweets sent out by annoyed and upset supporters of Reading. Lee Richards wrote on Twitter, "Poor Mark Bowen. No one really wanted him, then he turned it around, so no one wanted him to leave. Well, nearly no one. Enter Mr. Yong. This season is going to be interesting at best." Another fan, Jin Kangura, said, "Don't be surprised if a number of players hand in transfer requests to get away from this joke of a football club." And lastly, Matt Williams wrote on Twitter, "Like most football fans, I'm regularly moaned about my club over the last few years. I've often been frustrated, sometimes angry, but I've never truly disliked my club until the last few days." Now, just to add to the craziness of the new managerial appointment, the fact that he has only had 1 week of training with them socially distanced, but over in Portugal, or where they spent 1 week on a pre-season training camp. He has now had to isolate for 2 weeks so he can enter their team bubble to match with COVID restrictions. This means he will have even less time with the squad before the new season kicks off with a trip to Derby County on the opening day. Reading have also seen 6 players depart on free transfers, including the likes of former club captain Chris Gunter, as well as Tyler Blackett and Gareth McCleary. Now, the Blues have only brought in 2 players. Josh Laurent from Shrewsbury, who had an excellent season in the FA Cup last year, and Ovi Ejaria from Liverpool, who had just spent the season on loan at Reading and had made himself a fan favourite, so many were delighted after being able to capture him. It's fair to say that Reading have a lot of work to do. It's fair to say that Reading have a lot of work to do to try and stabilise the club by firstly signing more players to try and compete in this massively difficult league, but also in the manner of how they go about changing things at the club in the future. I hope you've enjoyed this insight into the craziness going on at Reading FC, but I also hope, like me, you've learnt a bit more about the situation as well. Thank you for listening. It's goodbye from me. That was The Final Whistle.